I get asked a lot, Rick, how do you know all the stuff that's going on? You always seem up to date with the latest thing that came out 2 days ago and you're either familiar with it or know about it. I get asked that all the time. How do you know, Rick? How do you know? Well, the good news is it's not really hard to know how. How's easy. How is I have a great list of resources that I get, usually email newsletters and a few blogs and things like that that I check. That list I have on a schedule. I check it once a week. Usually a certain time of the week, and I go through it. So that's the how. The how is very easy, and I recommend you do something like that as well. It's a lot better than as things come in Twitter and you get a notification here and a notification here, and it's like, what do? I don't have time to look at that. If you set up a time to check on the latest news, it's going to be easy to go through and find out the things that you want to know. So the how is easy. Let's talk about the what. What are good resources or sources for news? What are useful resources? What are things that are up to date? So let's talk about that. Let's start with a group of newsletters that are awesome. They're the fill-in-the-blank-weekly.com. And what I mean by that is JavaScriptWeekly.com, WebOpsWeekly.com, CloudDevWeekly.com, and a bunch more. That's what I'm talking about. If you jump to one of them, like JavaScriptWeekly.com, scroll to the bottom, you'll see the list of all the newsletters. I recommend joining them all. You'll get a newsletter at the end of the week with a bunch of links and a light description of each. They're always relevant and always seem to have their finger on the pulse of the categories they represent. Invariably, I'll be surfing Facebook or Medium, come across some cool article about a new React technique, and it'll end up on one of the weekly newsletters, so they're great. Cooper Press is the company behind all these newsletters, and they boast something like 350,000 developers that are subscribers weekly to these newsletters. So it's a great newsletter to be on, and it's my first pick for sources to get on for developers. The first category I have is mobile. I have a bunch of mobile resources that I look at. So I'm just going to rapid fire them right off the bat. And the first one I want to talk about is Objective-C.io. Objective-C.io has been around for a long time. They started off as a news site, but then they kind of pivoted and they're doing books now and they're doing videos and things like that. I recommend them. I've learned a lot of low-level stuff about some of the iOS things from those guys, so I highly recommend them. Second one is Swift News. I love this one. It's a great curated list of news for Swift that goes on. Love it. Highly recommend it. And along those lines is iOSDevWeekly.com, along the same lines. Great list, but he adds like a personal taste to it. He adds some things that he likes about these things, not just links with a general description, which I like. The next one is RayWenderlich.com. This site's super duper popular. You see it everywhere. He's got a lot of good news stories, but then he's also got a lot of good tutorials that you can follow along. Latest things coming in the mobile world. Highly recommend it. I would say go to the Apple Swift blog. It was really cool, but they haven't updated it since November of 2016. So I'm not sure if they forgot about it or if it's not a priority for them anymore. I'm not sure. So kind of sad, but it used to be a great resource. Next one is AndroidWeekly.net, good place for up-to-date Android news. And then there's the Android developer Google blog, and that's Android's dev blog. It's up-to-date, it's very cool, and very, very informative, probably more informative than the Apple blog ever has been. Moving on to the server-side category, the first one I want to mention is ProgrammableWeb.com. Programmable Web's been around for a while. Great resources on all things APIs. Not only does it have news around the API economy, it has a directory of API SDKs, libraries, sample code, all that kind of stuff. So it's a great place to go and subscribe to. The next one on the list is Rising Stack. Rising Stack is cool. They're a company. They have services and they have software as a service. One of them is really awesome. It's called Trace, which is like distributed tracing and performance management for Node.js. Their blog is really good. It has great articles on microservices, Node.js, architecture, things like that. So I highly recommend Rising Stack. Of course, if you're in the Java world, JavaWorld.com, ironically, is the place where I would get most of my news. Usually around Android, but on the broader scope of Java, that's a great place. Next and finally on the list for server stuff is Docker. Docker's blog is great. Of course, it's all things Docker, but what isn't these days? So it's a great thing to keep up with since it seems to be the thing that everybody has to use today. Next category, UI UX. I love hackingui.com. I love it. This one probably is my favorite stop for UI UX. It's always awesome, has cool techniques, in-depth articles, software reviews. So make sure you check that out. The next one is uxdesign.cc. This is another great one to follow along the same lines as Hacking UI. Finally, I have a catch-all category, just a general category with a bunch of hodgepodge of things. First one is Product Hunt. ProductHunt.com has a list of the latest products that are coming into the market. Really good. I think they even have an app too where you can check out things. Very cool. Check them out. Y Combinator, of course, is my next pick. It's the startup news gossip forum. I think all rumors seem to start there at the Y Combinator. So make sure you check out that forum. O'Reilly has been a leader for tech info for a while. A lot of training, a lot of books, of course. And their idea blog is great, so highly recommend that. And then there are YouTube channels. Coding Tech is great. It has a huge assortment of venues, different conferences, different presentations, and they kind of collate all of that. Great place. I recommend subscribing to that YouTube channel. And there's a couple individual ones too that they're kind of starting to make waves. And I would recommend checking them out. Oftentimes they have cool interviews or deeper programming techniques that are worth watching. One's Pizza Poker Guy and the other one is Engineer Truth. So make sure you check them out. That does it for the list of resources this time. If you think we missed something or we should make another video with a lot more sources, comment below and we'll make a note of it. Thank you.